Hi, my name is Tom. I'm a filmmaker from Kent. So my film Books is about looking at two individuals, set in kind of like an alternate reality where we communicate through books. And it's exploring these two individuals who are completely opposites, but they are both struggling with finding their identities. And essentially, they are by the end of the film, they try and find their true selves.
It's okay. You don't need to do this. I know we don't know each other, but this isn't the answer. Don't throw yourself away.
Today we go behind the scenes of filmmaker Tom Harvey's latest project, Books. It was shot back in September, and today we're going to be exploring his filmmaking process, what it was like making this film during this time. So we're going to start with what it was like making the film Books in a COVID-secure way.
Specifically with the script, it went through a lot of drafting. Considering the time period, it was very unsure about how the future would hold and what kind of different guidelines would be giving out. So the script itself went through a lot of different drafts in terms of not just the narrative, but also certain things within the script about how the actors would do certain things, like how the camera would move, things like that. So you had to take a lot of that into consideration as well. So before even production began, we were very much, it took a long period to kind of get the script down to the T where we could film it in a safe way.
I used to make up stories about those townspeople. Where they'd come from, where they were going to. How they'd live this perfect life in my head and always agree with all my thoughts.
I think my original kind of vision of the film was to create, something that goes from something that's not so intimate to something intimate. And for me, it was very important to have the connection between these two characters. So there was a lot of interaction within the characters in my first drafts. So throughout that, it was a kind of progressive, like transcendence from how I can do different things to make that connection still there, but doing it in a safe way. So a lot of it was through objects and trying to find ways to kind of incorporate that into intimacy. I kind of channeled that through the books themselves. So I used that object in particular to kind of make that happen.
I read this book one day, and it mentioned how all the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players.
And with extensive pre-production to get this film ready and so much time away from the camera and the magic of cinema, what was it like being back on set for that first day?
Yeah, being back on set was amazing. I hadn't made a film since last year. When I had the script in mind, it was very much, I really was dedicated. I really wanted to make this happen. And obviously with the coronavirus happening, it made it less and less almost in your head, kind of less achievable. So being back on set for me was amazing to kind of, be in this safe environment. I know it was different, but you had the safe environment where you were doing the same things. It was different, but I think that it was amazing to be back on set with that vibe, excitement of creating something again, which was amazing to me.
And despite the trying and difficult times that we are currently in for all people in the creative sector, this has given us an opportunity to adapt and create work in a different way.
I think at the moment, with the uncertainty of the future, it's made it a lot more difficult. Even with when I did my filmmaking, with this film in particular, just finding new ways to do things and being adaptable will make it a lot more achievable. And I think with bigger productions, it's a lot more easier because obviously they have more control and it's an actual working environment. It's achievable in a sense that we can adapt to things, and I think that will make it more exciting. And I think being able to look into doing different things in different ways will make it a lot more creative as well. So I think in some way this has provided a more creative outlook, I guess.
And to close, here's the advice Tom Harvey has for anyone who's looking to start spearheading their latest filmmaking project, get that pre-production going, and start looking ahead to the future and making more films.
I think the first advice I would give you is don't give up. I think that, even if it does take a long time for you to kind of come up with your own way to make the film, I think that you should still talk to people about it, keep them engaged and keep them interested in the project, keep it going, even if it's not actually producing it yet, but keep it in the talking stages, keep it exciting and keep people interested. And the second advice I would give is to do research. I think there's a lot of guidelines out there. For my film in particular, we looked at the British Film Commission and also the guidelines provided by the government themselves. And even though they were more targeted at bigger productions, we were able to adapt it to smaller production and kind of use those guidelines to make our film. So yeah, I think definitely do your research as well, because I think there's a lot of questions out there about how you can make it safe. And I think these guidelines provide you a clearer image of how you can do it.
Who are we writing for? Is it truly insignificant, like you said?
Think of it this way. Is Pandora's box truly a story if the box has never been opened? What do we know if the box has never been opened? I've been sucked into a world that I felt I couldn't escape. I opened the box and unleashed something that I never fully understood.
Thank you so much to filmmaker Tom Harvey for coming onto the A to Z of Kent and covering the letter B with his movie Books. This week's episode once again presented by myself, Max Barrett, with original music by Serkan Koçer, including clips from the film Books.